We're now going to talk about the concept of loss of parking and its impact or effect upon severance damages. And I'll use an example to try and highlight or exhibit this particular problem. The easiest way I think to think about that is to imagine a commercial property that, let's say a restaurant for instance, that requires by zoning or market forces to have a certain minimum amount of parking to meet the needs of the patrons that are going to be served by the restaurant. The acquisition comes along and takes a lot of those parking spaces, and what may happen is that now the number of parking spaces that are there could be reduced to such a level that it fails two tests for the purposes of successfully carrying on a restaurant. The first test is that it may no longer meet the local codes, and that therefore continuing a restaurant will be in violation, if you will, of the ordinances with regards to parking for a restaurant. Now, these will frequently be grandfathered in, but one must be careful because if the property is sold, depending upon the codes, that grandfathering provision might be changed. On the other hand as well, if there's a loss in that use for a period of time, the grandfathering provision under many circumstances, as far as codes are concerned, that can be lost. The other impact, and probably it's not as direct, but it can have really the significant impact here, is that if the parking gets too low, not only will it violate the codes, but it will effectively make the operation of the property as a restaurant become infeasible, because there just are not enough parking spaces available for patrons to effectively use the restaurant. Consequently, not only will it be in violation of the codes, but it will just not be able to operate efficiently and be profitable as far as a restaurant is concerned. The impact of this is that it causes the highest and best use for the property to be changed. So in the before situation, in other words, before the taking occurred, you had a situation where the highest and best use was as a valuable restaurant retail site. Afterward, with the parking being reduced, it may now only, because of codes and market desirability, only be able to support what we call a destination office type of highest and best use. The value for destination office is oftentimes much less than the value on a unitary basis for land or buildings that can be used for restaurants or impulse commercial type of developments. So here's a significant way where the damages to that remainder parcel, the severance damages, can be fairly significant if this highest and best use has been changed from a very valuable one like retail or restaurant to one that is clearly less valuable like a destination commercial. So this is another example to keep in mind as you consider whether or not your property is being adversely affected by a taking from a condemning authority.